Hey everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we are going to be working with the Christmas Market collection from Carta along with the coordinating cardstock, the chipboard accents, the frames and tags die cuts, and the puffy stickers. I did show there the enamel dots, but I didn't end up using them in today's video. I find that the puffy stickers are a great replacement for the enamel dots, so you definitely don't need both of them, and I chose to use the puffy stickers today. These are the 12 pattern papers that come in the collection kit. The collection kit also includes the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, and I'd almost say that I overbought embellishments for this collection. As you can see, the sticker sheet there does have a lot of sizes of stickers, so you can get away with maybe not buying the die cuts as much, but I do end up using the die cuts as well. But if you don't want to have everything if you don't want to have to buy as much or want a better value for your pages and don't want to buy as many coordinating accessories, I definitely think that I overbought this time. So here I'm going through all of my papers, and I'm just taking out all of my journaling card pieces. So there was a tags, a 3x4 journaling cards, and a 4x6 journaling cards. I'm going to remove those and put them to the side, and we're going to cut them up and use them a little bit later when we're embellishing the pages. So now we need two, so what we're doing is we're making 4 pages, but they're going to be double pages. So typically you like to have the backgrounds matching, but that's not going to happen with this style of paper pack just because we don't have 2 each of every design. So I really did like that plaid paper. That's going to be my first accent paper. And these 2 papers are identical, they're just a different color. So one is black, one's red. But if you look at my one piece of cardstock, the cardstock is also a different color on each side. So if I take this red and black paper here, I can choose to, on top of the black background, use the red side, and then do the opposite on the red paper, and it might help balance out the 2 backgrounds once I start putting my layout together. So I definitely will use those as my first set of background pages, but I'm going to keep in mind that I want to use that red and black cardstock predominantly on that particular double layout. So now here I really do like this paper as well. I feel like it coordinates well with everything that's going on, and it has a strong Christmas vibe to it. So that's going to be my second of 3 accent papers. And then here there is a very similar background with that sort of wood grain kind of gray look, but I feel like the snowflakes and the wreaths are very different from each other, and so they don't really complement each other as a background really well. And then we have 3 papers here that are like that red color. I feel like this paper competes a little bit too much with that other plaid accent paper I've chosen, so I'm going to eliminate that one as a possible background choice, and then I'm left with these 2 red background papers here. Now I chose these because they're both that same red color, and I feel like they're both really subtle, and pattern papers will really pop on top of both of those. Okay, so then this wreath paper here, I like the color tone of the background, and I like that it has a Christmas feel to it. So we're going to go ahead and use this one as our 3rd accent paper. And I also love that the back side of it is green, so it makes it even more versatile to flip it over. We have cutting diagrams in my tutorial videos, and I just kind of want to let you know how to read them. So there's the number in top in inches, and that's going to be the size that we're going to cut that cut piece into. And there's a number below it in a circle. So a lot of the times we're making 4 pages or 6 pages when we're using these cutting diagrams, and all these cut pieces can sort of get very disorganized. So that number inside of the circle there represents a pile that you're going to put that cut piece into. So for a 4-page tutorial, we're going to make 4 piles, and for a 6-page tutorial, we're going to make 6 piles. So the numbers are going to be either 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. So page 1 is going to have all the cut pieces that have a circle with the number 1 inside, and so on for the 4 or 6 pages. So now we're going to go ahead and take all pieces of our cardstock, and we are going to cut 1 inch in, 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom, and we're going to make a straight line on all 4 sides of each of these pieces of cardstock. What we're basically doing is cutting a 10 by 10 inch square out of the center of this piece of cardstock. The border is going to be put into our pile, and the center, the 10 by 10 inch center, is going to be put to the side, and we're going to be cutting it with another cutting diagram as soon as we're done cutting out all of these squares. Okay, so for our background papers, we are going to be cutting off 0.25 inches on one side and 0.5 inches off on the other side. The reason why we're offsetting it is because we want the insides of our double layouts to be touching the edges so that they look like they're connected. When your paper goes through the cutter in the same direction that it would be on your layout, that's the side that you want to cut 0.25 inches off on. So when your page is sideways through the cutter, you actually want to cut 0.5 inches off on that side. Okay. So the cutting blades on my cutter might be getting a little bit dull because, as you can see here, they kind of chipped up the edges of my cardstock a little bit. And this black cardstock happens to be like kind of more of like a white core kind of cardstock. So it shows like that white edge on the edge, and I don't really like that look. So I went ahead and just inked the edges of my black cardstock with like a black ink, just to get rid of that white core look. So as you guys can see, my scrapbooking buddy has decided to come for a visit and spot a few things around on my table. But I'm just laying everything out from the frames and tags die cut embellishment pack. I pre-cut off camera the journaling cards, and I did pull out the enamel dots, but I'm not using them. We just have way too many embellishments to use on these 4 pages, and the embellishments that we do have range in size. Like sometimes you get embellishments that are all way too big, and then having the enamel dots kind of helps tie in the clusters a little bit better when you have bigger elements. But in this collection there is so many little elements, and sometimes that's actually more challenging when you don't have anything that's big to like anchor your clusters and things like that. So in situations like this where you kind of are working with a bit like the elements that are smaller, I feel like you really have to find a way to anchor those clusters, and sometimes for me that's what I use the 3x4 or 4x6 journaling cards for. You can get away with doing that, I feel like, with sometimes with your frames as well, but I feel like you still need something behind them to make them look really good. Now, I did struggle with these layouts, and I think everyone does at some point. I really, to be honest, I almost didn't even want to have a video this week because I feel like the pages just didn't turn out the way I wanted. But I have to get back into it. I've, put away my scrapbooking stuff and not thought about scrapbooking for a couple weeks now. And sometimes you just need to get back into it. And it doesn't help that I'm working on Christmas and I don't feel like working on Christmas anymore. I really hope to have gotten this one done last week or before I went, like last year, but it just didn't work out with the schedule, so I ended up with another Christmas collection that was left, and I had pictures planned out for it already, so I just decided to go ahead and do it. But I'm just not in the Christmas spirit anymore. I feel like that's over with now. So here what I did is I went ahead and moved that 3x4 photo off of that red cardstock and replaced it with a 3x4 journaling card that has like a journaling area on it, or like a quote on it. And I didn't want to eliminate that 3x4 photo, so what I did is I went ahead and I trimmed it down about 1/8 of an inch or so on each side, and then I put it on top of a green 3x4 journaling card as a mat, and then I placed it underneath this Christmas titling here. Now this Christmas titling probably would have looked better if it was popped up, but I just decided to lay it flat down on the page. And then I decided to pop up this smaller banner that says Merry. It didn't look good there to me on its own, so I went ahead and I just layered this die cut piece behind it just to give it a spot to sit on. And then my concept with this, I think, is to try and embellish around this now, around that Merry area, and then also below that Christmas banner. So I felt like the right side of this double layout needed a little bit of something, so I found this barn with the 2 trees on it on the chipboard stickers, and I decided that, you know, the bigger sticker tree would look really good layered behind it. So what I actually did is I placed it behind the chipboard, but I popped up the top of it so that it still looks like it's sitting off the page, but it also looks like it's layered behind that barn. Okay, so I knew that the layout needed a little bit more, so I decided to incorporate something below this Christmas banner here. So I went ahead and layered this wreath underneath. And then I didn't like the Deck the Halls wording, so I layered it with chipboard on top. That black strip says, "Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you." And then on top I just put a chipboard that says Christmas Memories, that blends in with the background of that wreath really nicely. And then I'm just using puffy stickers in the same way that I would use enamel dots, just to kind of cluster around, or to finish off a cluster and kind of frame in some bigger elements. Okay, so I played around with something. I wanted something along that the top line of the cardstock there, but I decided that nothing was gonna really work well. I thought about putting a banner along the top of that green cardstock, but none of the banners were long enough. So I just went ahead and eliminated that idea, and I popped up this this sticker that says Merry Christmas to you, and put that at the top of that 4x4 photo area. And then from the puffy sticker sheet, I just added in a couple more pieces here, just to finish off some of these clusters. So for our last set of double pages here, I'm going through and picking out a 4x6 journaling card, a 3x4 journaling card, and I'm going to use those to anchor some of my embellishments. When I looked at the embellishments I had left, the ones that I wanted to use were all too small, and I just think it's easier when you have smaller embellishments. It's easier to anchor them to the page on top of something to give your cluster a base to work with. So I knew that I wanted 3 cluster areas, so I'm going to go with one at the top of those 3x4 photo areas on the right side, and then one to the right of this 4x6 photo here. So to the right of this 4x6 photo, I put on a 3x4 journaling card with like an oval ivory journaling area, and I clustered around that. And then on the left side of the page, I put a 4x6 journaling card that says Merry Christmas, and I also took this chipboard large Christmas tree and put it right on the side of that 4x6 photo area. And then I took a puffy sticker Christmas tree as well. It's a smaller one, and I sort of layered it behind to make it look like there's a little bit of depth there. And then I took this sleigh with the tree in it, this chipboard one, and put it at the bottom of that 4x6 photo area, and sort of like that blank area on the other side of that Merry Christmas word. And then on top of it, I put on some puffy stickers that look like snowflakes, and one that says December 25th, sorry. And then here at the top, I figured this cluster needed a little bit more. I didn't really like how it was turning out. I felt like it was just a bunch of pieces that were being put there, and none of them really connected. So then I decided to put on this 12 by 12 border strip that says Merry Christmas on it, and I wanted it to line up with that green cardstock on the left hand side, which meant that it overhung on the page, and I just decided to cut it where the pages meet, and then apply it to the right layout as well. Just to make it look continuous, but I felt like it was stuck up. I felt like it was too high and it was just in the middle of nowhere all by itself. So I lowered it and down a little bit so that it was at the top of that 4x6 photo mat. And then I decided that I didn't really like how these little pieces were looking. I felt like it was just kind of like they were out in the middle of nowhere. They weren't really anchored to anything, and they didn't make that cluster look any better. So I just moved some of them off of there and made that strip its own element, and then made that top cluster area its own element as well, instead of trying to join them up. So next week I'm probably not going to do another cutting guide tutorial. I think next week I'm hoping to talk about how I plan out my family albums and my trip albums, and some more specific type albums, how I sort of organize the album itself, and how I decide to put pictures on them. So we're going to kind of go through that, and if I do have time, I might do a pocket page video, but I'm not sure yet. So next week will look a little bit different, hopefully give you guys some new information and some new ideas. So we will see you next Friday with another video, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.